This is AutoSave, the podcast that is a book club for gamers. We've reached the penultimate episode of our Final Fantasy Rebirth series. There's a lot happening as we near the end, and our group goes through traumatic trials, and someone even makes a sacrifice. Plus, if you've been missing the Turks, we got more of them in this episode. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to AutoSave. My name is Nick Andrade, if you didn't know, and I'm here as always with my co-host Camille Salazar Hadaway. And today we tackle Chapter 13 of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, our penultimate episode of the series.
Ooh, penultimate.
Yes, I do. I like using that word now. I've been using it a lot. If I know it's it is a penultimate.
Are you one of those people that you learn a new word and then you're like, oh, I'm going to use that all the time?
No, because I'm a very layman word speaker. I don't use big words very often. But when I do, watch out, world. My IQ just raised 3 points.
Yeah, 9 characters or more. Heck no. That's what I say.
We're not sophisticated talkers. We're yappers. That's what we are.
We're yappers.
But yes, this is the penultimate episode of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We just have one more episode left in this series, and it's been a long one. I am at 150 hours in this game right now. This game is long, especially if you want to do almost everything.
Exactly. If you want to be a Nick in this situation, it's gonna be long. But you know what? It's worth it because the return is so far has been really good, and we're almost done the game. So
big time. Well, let's recap what happened last week because it was a doozy.
Ever since we left Midgar on this crazy journey, ever since we were kids even, I can't remember a time like this. A time when we were this close. Or am I getting ahead of myself again?
Again?
Yeah. Again.
Not one bit.
We had our very romantic date on the Ferris wheel with whoever you had the strongest relationship with. There was also a weird play that I didn't really understand. Everyone is digitally inserted into the play and all had their own parts. But Aerith, at the end, had a beautiful song that she sang, which makes me think that she's going to die soon because it's giving her as much screen time as possible. We won the Keystone from Dio. By fighting for him in order to save the gold saucer from Don Corneo. And if you didn't know what the Keystone was, by the way, it would help us find the Cetra temple that we were looking for to find the black materia. If you forgot what the main plot of the story was at this point, because I kind of did. So I was doing a lot of chocobo races. But Kate Sith Cam betrayed us, unfortunately, and took the Keystone from us, and gave it to the Turks. You didn't trust Kate Sith, and you were rewarded.
I was right.
You were right.
Didn't trust him.
But luckily, Vincent is able to track, I think, radio signals in order to find out where the Turks are going. so we can follow them over to the Cetra Temple. So that is where we are going to go to in this chapter. Chapter 13, Where Angels Fear to Tread, which sounds like a really scary
It does. I'm like,
chapter.
It's
Angels
gonna get-
scared to tread?
Then why are we treading there? That's my question. Why is Cloud
Yeah.
Teeth and the whole gang there?
Okay. But first,
Scary.
before we get into super scary stuff, question of the day. This is the point in the game, Cam, where you can no longer head back.
Yeah.
The game will prompt you to say you cannot go back. So if you want to get anything done, go and do it, which I did.
Yeah.
I think I put in another 40 hours
Of just side missions?
of just side stuff. Getting
That
like
tracks,
top
yeah.
tier game. I finished, I think, all the side quests, all the proto relic stuff with Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
Up until the point where I think you have to fight him, but I was too low level for that point. But yeah, trying to get high scores on all the gold saucer stuff. A lot
Yeah.
going on. But I want to know from you, question of the day, is there a game that you remember where you got to the point of no return and you wanted to head back to finish everything else? I have a couple in mind.
Ooh, I don't have a couple in mind, but let me just talk about this game first because
Yes.
you're asking this question to the wrong person, Nick.
No, you said you're
my
130
MO
hours in right now.
Yeah, but my MO is usually like story first, right? So it's really hard for me to continue playing a game for the story and then find the need to go back. So
Yeah.
what I usually do is if there's a side mission available, whenever it becomes available, I just go and do it. Like, and I grind it if I feel like doing it,
Mhm.
right? So for
Mhm.
this, I actually didn't at this point have to go back because I already got everything I wanted to.
That's good.
So, but like it took me longer to get here because you've kind of been on my case, because you're like, hey, have you beat the game yet? Have you beat the game? I'm like, no, Nick, I'm
Yeah.
going chapter by chapter for this reason because I'm spending so much time as I'm going chapter by chapter doing all the side missions, spending that time, which maybe isn't the best approach actually because I really want to get into the story and then I forget about what's happening in the story and then I try to go forward. But so for this game, I would say like there's a few games where it's like this is the part. Actually, God of War might have been one game that I was like, oh crap, I forgot to do a couple side missions. But usually I go do every side mission if I really want to for that game because I usually don't do every side mission. If I really want to, I'll do the side mission alongside the story.
I remember when I was in university, I booted up my PS2,
Yeah.
my old PS2, and I played Kingdom Hearts 2 again because it was my favorite Kingdom Hearts game. And I was like, now I'm older, wiser, I know how to play games better, so I'm going to play to 100%. So I played every Kingdom Hearts game to 100%, but I remember specifically in 2, right before the last point where you can head into the final mission, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm just gonna get to. I've never done this before. I'm gonna get to the max level. I'm gonna get to level 100. How do I do this? So there was a part in the Lion King world where you could get, I think, to Pride Rock or something like that, and every time you can load into a new area, a bunch of like 800 like wasp things would repop. So I would do that over and over and over for like 6 hours to get to the max level 100 even before I beat the entire game. That's how dedicated I was to finishing everything.
I'm so proud of you. That's where it started. Was that where it started for you where you're like, I need to finish games 100% all the time?
No, because if you look at my trophy list, I have notoriously not finished many games. It is only in the last couple years where I'm like, I need to start getting platinums.
Yeah. Oh, actually, Spider-Man is that like I would say all the Spider-Man games so far.
Yep.
Those are games where it's like, oh, I like especially with the last one where I'm like, oh, okay, let me go back.
Yes.
And just do everything. Because that one, I didn't do all the side missions, but most games I do alongside. You said you had a few answers for this. What are some of your other answers?
Oh, it was Spider-Man. I remember like Miles Morales specifically. You had to go to Oscorp And every time you got close, it's like, this is the end. Be careful. I'm like, all right, I'll go back. Then I finished everything.
You got to be careful where you swing. You don't want to
It's true.
trigger that
It's
message.
True. Yeah.
There was this time where I was swinging too close. I'm like, oh, okay, this is getting annoying. This message keeps popping up. I need to swing a little further.
That you know what? I just thought of an extra question here. So I'm breaking the rules of question of the day.
What? It's the question of the day, not questions.
Do you like it prompting you that you can no longer turn back?
I think I understand why it's there. I'm usually more of because I'm so story driven with games where I don't want to see the end necessarily coming. Like, I want to be as immersed in the story as possible. And that prompt takes me away from it. Yes. But it doesn't it's not something like, oh man, I hate this. I understand why it's there. I just am neither I'm not a huge fan of it, but I understand for people that want to make sure they finish everything, why that message will be there. Plus, I think it's harder if I know it's happened to me because I'm story driven and there is no prompt. I'll complete the game and I'll remember, oh, you know what? I actually like that mini game. I want to go back and try to get the perfect score. And I never go back. Like, it's hard to hop back into a game after you completed it.
Yeah. But that, again, this is why, again, we don't have to get into this, but to get a platinum, you have to play the game again. Yeah. It frustrates me when you can't get everything by the end or near the end of your first playthrough. I get retention time. That's really important for games these days, but I get frustrated by that.
Yeah, I really feel like it should be, for platinum, it should be able to be achieved in the first playthrough, or on a certain, maybe certain difficulty settings, but even then, I don't understand why a platinum trophy would need to be. I don't know.
Agreed.
But yeah, it should be. I'm definitely alongside that camp with you where it's it should be accessible on the first playthrough of the game. There's so much backlog. There's so many great games, especially in these last few years, where it's everyone has a backlog of at least 5 games that they want to play. It's don't do that. Instead, retain your audience with some great story content, add-on content,
Bingo. And that's been the last few games that we played. God of War, you can pretty much do everything by the end. Spider-Man, same thing.
Free content.
Just more enjoyable for me.
God of War, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Free content. Anyway, we are on still our first playthrough of this game. And again, Chapter 13. After the break, it's time to head up to the northern continent and catch up with the Turks before they get the black materia. Or find out if it's the promised land. I don't really know what they want.
Are you sure this is the place?
Quite.
It looks like the Turks are going to be going to their death or never returning again.
They're going to die.
Which I've never seen, and I applaud this. This is what I wanted to highlight. Elena having a kind of monologue about why would we be doing this? Why are we marching to our deaths? We don't really see that with antagonists in a lot of games where they like to go to this dangerous area. But Elena is saying, why the hell are we doing this? And where's Rufus?
Well, it's kind of like exactly the idea that these villains, essentially, the antagonists, they are foot soldiers in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't their, they don't have like a passion for the goal of getting this black materia or like figuring out where the promised land is. They're just doing what they're told. They're just Turks, right? So
Yeah.
I do like this. A weird thing here, though, in this cutscene, when it looks to Rude, it's kind of like from Elena's perspective, and I wonder if the game's kind of like, this is just a weird tinfoil hat theory. If it's putting in this hint with Elena as though maybe in the third installment of this, maybe we get to play as some of the Turks. Like,
That
because
would
we
be
do
sick.
know, like, it's just really weird how we, like, the Turks, they are really so well thought out here, and like you're really invested in their story, and like I'm fans of a few of the Turks. Like, I would actually want to play with them, and we're already seeing in this game how it's like nothing's off limits in terms of what perspective you could play with. So I'd love to see that, but who knows? We'll have to wait for the third one when we're 90.
We also see Reno make an appearance for the first time in a while because he's been hurt and recovering.
Yeah.
Were you excited
my
to
favorite
see
Turk.
Is he?
Yeah, he's my favorite Turk. He's cute. I like him.
Yeah, I do like this. They've really stepped up their backstory where you're connected to them regardless. They don't feel like they
No.
just feel like regular people too. Like they're just going about their business and they just happen to be a part of this very dangerous thing that they don't really know about.
Exactly. And it's like they question, even with when it was in Remake with Rude and Reno, like you were like, Rude would ask questions, Reno would just kind of be like, shut up. Like they have
Yeah.
a dynamic amongst each other. So they're not just one dimensional characters. They are really well fleshed out. Like even with Reno being in the hospital or getting sick, I'm like, when are we going to see Reno again? Like, I want Reno to
Yeah.
come back. Like, will they bring it back earlier, But yeah, so it's like you're becoming fans of just all these characters. You're kind of cheering, and it makes things so complicated because usually you want to cheer for just the good guys, but you're also cheering for some of the bad guys because they're just really cool.
Yeah, and you know what? They haven't done too many bad things to us anyway. So
I know.
yeah.
Well, and that's the thing.
been
It's like
playful.
they don't want to necessarily be bad. Like,
Yeah.
like you think of Sung, right? And it's like, yeah, I think he's just doing what his job asks, but he's also, we've seen him draw the line with like how he treats Aerith, right? So,
Right.
yeah.
After that cutscene, you take your Sid boat or whatever, it used to be a plane, to the northern continent. Takes a while to get there, by the way. It's
Yeah.
no slouch job. It doesn't go there quick. But this is the point of no return. Once you dock, you can no longer get back to anything else. So we move forward, and we get a quick cutscene with Rufus and Hojo in one of the choppers that we see. They're with black cloaks. Now Hojo says a few things here I want to highlight. It's the beginning of the end. There's the celebration of the faithful, and the temple is merely the stage. There's this aura about him throughout this chapter that we see where Hojo, it feels like he knows what is going on and what's going to happen. Do you get that sense also?
Kind of, right? It seems like Hojo, well, we discussed this before, where it seems like he doesn't have his own, like, he's not necessarily aligned with Rufus. Like, he's kind of manipulating, I think, Rufus, or has his other, like, goal that may not coincide with what Rufus wants. So I think he's holding back information to kind of hide his true intentions.
Yeah, there's definitely something going on. I'm putting a pin in it to
Yeah.
see what happens with him. The Turks obviously get to the temple first. They put the keystone into this like basin. I don't even know how you say it properly. Basin. There we go. And there's a great cinematic that takes place as the temple kind of comes up out of nowhere through this giant forest and almost builds itself together like Lego, which is really cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah. Aerith connects with the live stream afterwards, and even though Barrett thinks that this might be the promised land, she confirms that it is not. It is just a Cetrus temple, and that's it. After dealing with some Shinra troops with the main group, we get back to another Rufus and Hojo cutscene. And they see that Aerith and the squad have arrived. But Hojo, again, he says he is doubtless close behind. This is going to be interesting. Rufus also says, I hope you're watching, Dad. So two things here. Hojo clearly knows about what Sephiroth's agenda is, which is very strange. But then Rufus is, what do you mean by I hope you're watching, Dad? Is that this is what you were hoping for when you were president, or is there also some weird multiverse stuff going on here?
Well, no, I think it's just the fact that he always wants to outdo his dad, right? We know that his father was putting so much resources into Hojo finding this promised land, and that was Rufus's MO. Rufus actually didn't want to do that. It was until, you know, things kind of shifted out of his control that he decided to align with Hojo to find the promised land. And I think he's just kind of like, I hope you're watching so you could see how I'm successful rather than you are not, father. You know, like, I think Rufus definitely has dad complex.
He's got daddy issues for sure.
He has daddy issues. So I think that's what it is. Hojo, though, it is, like you said, it's very, very interesting that he's just like, somewhat aware of what Sephiroth wants to do. So maybe, you know, as out of control as Sephiroth seemed in escaping, you know, his lab and all this stuff, like, it actually might have seemed like maybe Hojo was aligning some of the tiles for or some of the cards for you know, Sephiroth to stack on his side. So yeah, I'm curious about Hojo's intentions, because I mean, anyone that aligns with Sephiroth probably is not good for all of humanity, whether you're Shinra or other.
I just want to know what the hell's going on, but I don't even think we're going to know by the end of this game. Into the temple we go, and we arrive in the Labyrinth.
The only promised thing here is death for us all.
Elena, cut the chatter.
Hey, you know I'm right.
Sir, Avalanche and the Ancient, they're here.
I say we set an ambush and take them out.
No, we focus on the mission. Our orders were to find proof that this is indeed the Promised Land, so we will split up and search. Reno, Rude, pair off. Elena, you're with me.
Sir.
Reno. See you keep your priorities straight.
Copy that, boss.
So everything is upside down, right side up. This labyrinth has Shinra walking on the ceiling. We see them up in the air. It's interesting to find out that the Turks' plan here is to find the Promised Land, we find out, not the Black Materia. So they actually don't know anything about the Black Materia right now.
Yeah.
So that's good for our plan. But this seems like a dangerous mission just to find the Promised Land. I don't understand. The plans to capture Aerith were back on. And even though we know that, or the Turks know that she's here, Aerith has nothing to do with it.
No. And I think that's the thing too. It's like, what is like, so like they keep talking about this promised land, like even the group you hear Barrett asking Aerith if this is the promised land, right? And it's just kind of like, I feel like the promised land is just going to be like this figurative thing.
Okay.
Like, it's like, yeah, this place exists, but it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of have my own theories on what they're saying the promised land is in this
Especially with, they're just trying to drain up all the Mako in the world, that I feel like this thing just doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, make your way through the labyrinth. There's some gravity puzzles along the way, so you can change the direction of where you're going. You can go right side up, upside down, sideways, and each area, once you kind of push this lever and change your gravity, opens and unlocks a new area to get to. So make sure that you go to every path because there's going to be items along the way that you can pick up. But once you get to the point of the entrance of the actual temple, you face off against the red dragon who is guarding the labyrinth. And this is, I would say, one of the hardest boss fights of the game to this point. I do remember the red dragon from the original. This is one of the very few things I remember fighting.
In terms of like the bosses?
Yes. I don't remember much, but I remember this guy, and he is no joke. How did you fend off the red dragon?
Oh, I died.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
See, this is you gotta get the levels up, all right?
I know, Nick. Okay, I know. I understand. So this one was a tough one, but I think I only died once. Yeah, for this fight.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, he has a lot of HP, so that's like
that's
you have
the
to
thing.
deal with.
Well, when I died, and I was like, mother fudger, because I think I died like halfway through his HP, and I was like, are you kidding me?
And no checkpoints.
No.
Did you knock down the pillars at all? So there are these 4 pillars in the battle area that he burns and scorches, and so they kind of like turn like magma. You're supposed to hit them
I
and
did
knock
not know that.
them into him. I did not know that either until I was reading the guide to this.
Oh, maybe that's why we were struggling so hard.
So that pressures him, right? Because he has no other weaknesses.
Yeah. He doesn't have any other weaknesses.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I feel dumb.
Right. Because he does have that crimson breath where, like, there are certain moves you can't escape that you just
gotta just
not
take.
die, but you take a lot of damage for.
Well, it was through Crimson Breath that I did die.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
But I was really upset with this one because, like, I was like, are you kidding me? And, as we go through this chapter, like, every encounter, I was kind of like, mother, Jesus, this is going to suck.
Yeah.
Just because I did level up, but I probably wasn't to the level you were, Nick.
I think I was level 50. Level 50?
No, I don't think I was level 50
okay.
yet. I was like
I
47.
think max level is 70, but 50
Yeah.
was a spot that I had no trouble. I didn't die, at least. I was able to, like, cure. I think I've had to use a couple Phoenix Feathers, a couple Raises. But I don't think I, like, fully wiped the team. But I did not use the pillars at all. I didn't even know that was a thing.
So that was the other thing, right? Like, talk about needing to go. Like, this is why I should probably change my ways. When I said, there's no turning back, I should probably turn back and grab more Phoenix Down and Phoenix Feathers. Because that's why I was like, oh, I can't use that. I only have a certain amount. I don't know how far this is going to go. And I'm anticipating, like, a Sephiroth battle. I'm like, I may need that.
That's why I tried to stock up on as many ethers as I could.
Yeah.
Because
do you say
MP
ethers?
Loss. What are they? Ethers.
Ether? Yeah.
Ethers.
Okay.
Sorry, I already said Phoenix Feather. I meant Phoenix Down. Now I said Ether.
Or, well, no. What is the other one? Phoenix.
It's a Phoenix.
Down. There's Phoenix Down and Phoenix something else.
I don't know what it was.
But I try to stock up on both of them.
But ethers anyway.
Yeah.
You don't get as many in this game, so whenever you can buy some, buy some. Anyway, it ends in this. Once you beat them, don't die. Hopefully, it ends with a badass Tifa and Cloud combo slow-mo scene, which is really cool. That leads you into the Hall of Life, and there's some crazy wind life stream stuff going on in this room. It looks like a tornado's happening, and it's actually sucking Shinra's soldiers to their deaths, which they don't seem to care about too much. Aerith says the life stream seems angry and tries to see if she can tell the life stream, which I thought was funny, that they mean no harm. It doesn't work. It separates the group. And now Cloud is with Baird and Tifa, while Aerith is with Red and Yuffie. Cloud is also on some jerk type shit right now, by the way.
Cloud is also like, because Aerith was just trying to Like, is this the part where she's just trying to do her thing? And that, yeah, so then they separate.
Yeah.
And Aerith and Yuffie and Red, like, go up on a pillar and the others are down there. And I think Barrett says something like, oh, we're going after them, right? And then he's like, they're fine.
Yeah, he just says they're fine.
He's just like, they're fine. They're with Aerith. They're
Yeah.
fine. We have to find them at Black Materia. I'm like, oh.
Red flags, guys. Red flags. Shooting.
What's happening?
Shooting.
He's not saying reunion anymore, or like he's not saying reunion yet, but I mean, he's on the path of that with how he's acting.
Well, listen to this clip because it gets worse, Cam.
It's not death. It's a homecoming. Let's keep moving.
Hey kids, sorry we're late.
Better late than never. Still owe you both for Sector 7. Could say the same for you. It's a shame we'll have to settle up later.
Guess we'll just have to pick this up next time.
Get back here!
Damn it!
So, when you think you're going to have a boss fight with Rude and Reno, they blow up where they are, so we get stuck. But the focus of this clip, obviously, is Cloud is under what seems like an awful spell of Sephiroth. He is now become Sephiroth, almost. He kills this pleading soldier while Tifa and Barrett just watch. I don't understand why they didn't even try to intervene whatsoever, but
Nick, it's shock. They are shocked because, well, and really they shouldn't be shocked because Cloud has these Sephiroth spells that happen throughout the game. But I think it's just like we just heard Barrett talk about how all these soldiers are pretty much just dead, and he kind of feels bad for them as they're going through the temple. And then for this to happen, it's like, we just said we felt bad for them, Cloud. Like, what are you doing? So I think there is a little bit shock side. But yeah.
Do you think he's a goner? Do you think he's just too far gone now at this point?
I mean, no, there's still like little, I guess, like little glimmers of hope. Which we see like Tifa kind of check in with Cloud, and then he kind of snaps out of his spell and he's like, yeah, I'm good, you know? So I think he's not a goner yet, but we do see it getting worse. And I'm kind of like, I feel like there's tragedy on the other end of that.
Oh yeah, big time. We get a cool clock and gears looking cinematic that shows us several hours prior, where it shows the other group of Aerith, Red, and Yuffie, and their adventure is quite different because they're they are teammates and happy and fun with each other. But we get a new mechanic in the game. Aerith can now harness the power of the life stream. She can suck up energy around her as she becomes one with the life stream, and she can now stabilize the terrain by gathering fragments of life stream, floating around, and then channeling them into vessels that we see, these little cups, as we move forward into the path. What did you think of this mechanic? I liked it. I thought it was a nice little change of pace.
Yeah, I think exactly. I think it's just like a nice little change of pace. It's not something where I'm like, ooh, this is cool. But it does, like, add,
it was kind of boring.
It's kind of boring, but it adds to like the evolution of Aerith, and I think this more importantly symbolizes that Aerith being at the temple as, you know, being a half Citra person is reacting to that. Like she's getting stronger, so like she's kind of in her element in a sense, even though all the odds are stacked against her or anyone that tries to enter the temple.
After creating your own path and fighting off some enemies, Yuffie says Aerith should rest, and it's back to Cloud's group. They're not doing so hot. Finding our way towards the Turks, there's a few roadblocks along the way, and that is when Cloud's group finds Reno and Rude. And after a cool battle, while we kind of team up with Rude and Reno against fiends, we realize, hey, we actually got to fight these guys. There's this cool like cinematic between Tifa and Rude where they were fighting things with each other, and then they're like, actually, no, we got to start punching each other. And it was really cool. But it's boss fight time, Cam.
Yeah.
And it is Reno and Rude versus us. We have had this similar fight in Remake where we had to fight these two. Does it stack up with the last fight from what
I think so. I thought it would, like, I could see how it's gotten harder. Reno somehow got stronger while he was hospitalized. But I actually was looking forward to this because I do like they're bickering back and forth with each other, and like kind of like I love facing off against the Turks because they do have these like one-liners like that is always like just like trying to hit us with like, oh, you suck kind of mentality.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed this fight. I mean, they weren't totally difficult. Like I didn't die. Like I was able to beat them. But I did have fun in this fight.
I felt it was a lot easier than it was in Remake from what I remember.
Really?
I thought their move set, their skill sets were easier to manage. I remember Reno was really tough with his electricity. And this one almost feels non-existent.
Or is that just, you know, you getting stronger, Nick?
No, I'm not going to use that excuse every time that I'm just OP. We also find out in this fight, there's these cool little parts where some of the bridges that were collapsed come back into place to kind of help us throughout the fight. And we find out through this going back and forth in time with Aerith's group and Cloud's group that Aerith kind of protected them as they were going through the fight with Reno and Rude. So after we beat Rude and Reno, there's kind of like a collapse, and it goes back with the clocks, and we head back with Aerith's group again, and this time, their group has to fight Elena and Sang. Easier or harder than the Reno and Rude fight?
I thought this was easier. However, Sang and Elena are like in sync. Like they attack really closely together in the same moveset.
Yeah.
Which I found annoying.
Anytime Cloud and Barrett are not on my team, I struggle. Especially with Aerith being the team leader. Even though I can switch through.
That's true.
I always have so much HP with Cloud and Barrett, and then Aerith has like no HP but a ton of MP that I struggle. So this was more of a struggle when I'm not without those two.
Now, I did enjoy this fight as well. Elena's kind of annoying, but whatever. But I thought it was kind of weird. I want to just talk about the transition to this.
Okay.
Because the game does this whole clock animation thing.
Yes.
That I found so out of place. Like, I thought they could have done this as, like, you know, so it does a clock animation and then it says, like, an hour or a few hours earlier or something like that prior. And then it goes to this moment with Sang and Elena and Aerith in the group. Yeah. Why couldn't they have done it where when it collapses, Barrett like says, "Hey, where were you guys?" And then it does like a little like fade into this fight. Like it was just so weird that it made me read so much into this clock.
Yeah.
Like I was like, what does this clock mean?
I actually have that as a question in the third segment was like,
okay,
would you see more like why is this clock in place? So yeah, I had the same question as well.
Like, it feels like it's very intentional that
Yes.
that clock is here.
Everything
But we
seems
just-
intentional though right now.
Yes.
Yeah. After you beat Elena and Sang, Elena lets Sang say, "Go ahead, go do what you need to do." As Cloud and the others crash onto the scene with the rest of the Turks around.
You're not getting past me. I'm a Turk. God damn it!
It's them! I'm so glad you're all okay. Right back at ya.
We're lucky you didn't crush us.
Don't be afraid. It's not death. It's a homecoming.
Stop. Please.
There's no time for this, like you said. One of them's still ahead of us.
Right. No time.
So, don't be afraid. It's not death, it's a homecoming.
Stop it, Cloud. Stop your Sephiroth-ness.
Cloud has completely lost it, and he's about to kill Elena. Finally, Tifa intervenes. Barrett knows best how to deal with this issue right now, which is to say, we need to keep moving forward. We have no time for this. So Cloud is like, yeah, you're right. But to me, it seems like he's completely lost it here. He was like basically Sephiroth.
Yeah, he sounded exactly like Sephiroth, and he didn't even acknowledge Tifa, really, which makes me think back to the date and all the options you have.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like just how Tifa like is actually going out and like hugging Cloud and like just so like like really kind of acting like a girlfriend. Does that mean the Tifa date was actually canon?
I think
Did
so.
they confirm which date's canon?
No. I don't know if they did.
Because like if like playing that date, right? Like it kind of seems like, okay, this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, my fears may be coming true where Tifa's connection with Cloud isn't enough for Cloud to snap out of this. For him to just like brush his hand away from her.
Yeah.
Whereas we've seen him and Aerith like kind of like have a connection that snaps him out of it. I'm getting scared for my shipping of the Tifa and Cloud. It may be in jeopardy, Nick.
I hope not. From what I know, I don't think so. But
I don't know.
we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just
All right.
thinking back to the original. If they keep it as it was, then I think we'll be okay.
But they never keep it as it
That's
was.
true. I know.
Oh my gosh. It's a different game, Nick.
We also see Vincent here end the cutscene intervening with his old buddies, which I don't know what he's going to do here. But with the gang back together, it's onward, and we go after Sang.
Built like a maze, remnants of battle. It's not a temple, it's a fortress. To defend against what, though? Fiends?
Worse, humans. Humans feared and coveted the power of the ancients. And so they slaughtered them.
Sephiroth.
Don't be afraid. It's not death. It's a homecoming. You'll see him soon enough.
Sung!
You okay?
It's not me you should be worried about.
Just tell me. This place. Is it the Promised Land?
I'm sorry, but I don't think it is.
Of course. Figures.
Always did take my word for it. I never hated you, you know.
This pedestal's a key. One only an ancient can use.
Where are you going?
Got a report to make.
Aerith, I need you.
Anytime I see the black feather, I freak out because I'm like, oh, Several, he's coming. And, he stabs Sang and says, it's not death, it's a homecoming again.
Reiterating what Class said.
Yes. We talked about loving the Turks. Do you feel bad for Sang here in this situation? I feel like he's collateral damage.
Yeah, like I feel horrible for saying also Employee of the Year, trying to get that report in even though he has a gunshot wound to his body.
They don't even they just let him walk away. This guy, not a gunshot wound, he got stabbed with his katana.
Oh yeah, sorry, stabbed, yeah.
And he's just like, got a report to make. And then they just let him walk.
I just a stab wound to probably like vital order, like that was like his, I don't know, stomach, kidneys, something that's probably vital there that he got stabbed in the stomach with. But yeah, he has work on his mind, and work is the only thing that's on his mind. And this back and forth that he has with Aerith, like I think that just shows kind of what we had that hint of in Remake with their relationship, where it's kind of like he's doing what he has to do, but he does, in some sense, care for Aerith, and is concerned if she's not okay, which is why that's actually the first thing that he asks, if she's okay, right. For that reason. And I think like Aerith also like just confirming like she didn't hate him, like brings some resolution between like her and what she feels for the Turks, because we never actually showed her iterate hate, or like even when she was running away from Rude. There was nothing really concerning about how she interacted with Rude. So it's kind of like she understands that they're just being told like to do what they have to, and they have to do these things in order to survive Shinra's wrath, essentially.
Well, maybe that's Stockholm Syndrome, but we won't talk about that. Aerith then uses her life voice to connect with a cube in the middle of our new area that we're in, and glowy words, I don't even know what I'm saying, glowy words show up on this tapestry, and she reads, "Inward must now then turn, reflect on the bloody path, and kindle the fire anew." I feel like this is trying to tell us something in the story, not just what we're about to see, but the whole theme of this franchise, which is don't think about the past, move forward in the future. Did you like this Shakespearean quote?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, I feel like this is setting us up to revisit, and it does, revisit moments in their past. But then also, like, this is the game devs literally also reminding us this is called Rebirth for a reason.
Yeah.
Don't get so caught up on what happened in the original. Things are going to switch up, right? Like, these are the reminders here. So I think it's like setting us up if you're, an old fan of the game, like, hey, don't get mad if things don't end how you think they should end.
Each of our group members actually have a light that shines them and connects them to a door for each of these paths that they have to enter, except for Cloud. Cloud does not get one. So each...
Because he's a jerk.
Yes, he is.
He's acting like a
jerk. Each
jerk.
one of our group heads into separate doors, leaving Cloud outside, and they each have to complete a trial, which is very interesting here to me. Every one of them have had traumatic experiences. Something has happened in their lives that they had to relive in their trial. Red got experimented on by Hojo. He has to relive that experience. Tifa, her father's death. Yuffie, when Sonon died, and her situation with Nero that we saw in Intergrade. That scary man returns. Barrett with Myrna's death, his wife, and the corral destruction that he had to relive. He had his arm back for a second, but that didn't last long. And then Aerith's mom's death. She had to relive that.
Oh, that one got me.
Completely heartbreaking. I want to know what you took away from these, and what was the point of showing them to the audience?
Well, the fact that, like, Aerith's mom, like, that one really got me.
That
like,
one hit hard.
Also, that one, like, hit so hard because you become young Aerith. And then she's, like, people were such jerks. Like, she's going and asking for help, and she gets, like, pushed down by, like, someone else accidentally, but then they're like, stay down, kid. Like,
it was like, heartbreaking to watch.
I was like, what is wrong with the adults in this world? Like, what is going on? And then also to see how her adoptive mom, like, kind of came to the rescue and had to literally pull Aerith off her dead mother.
Yeah.
Holy crap. It's so sad to watch. And I think the reason why we're reliving those moments, or even with Tifa, and, like, she has to follow her dad. She knows what's coming. He's literally walking into his death, running into his death. And she has to try to stop him, knowing that she cannot, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and I think that's the whole point of reliving these moments. It's like, they don't necessarily, they're obviously traumatic and impactful, but you can't change what has already happened. And I think, when we look at that saying, it's like, you have to look inward. It's like, you have to turn towards the darkest time you've experienced for these characters and reflect on it, and then realize that you can't come out of those moments with, like, revenge or hatred, because then you're just kind of reliving those paths again, and it doesn't actually do justice for those that died. And I think that's what it's trying to, by reliving these moments, show these people. But I do think it kind of fell short in that, like, whole, like, see a new path. And this is kind of like something that's been reiterated, like, throughout this game, of like, oh, don't hash on what happened before, like, go through your redemption arc, relive those moments. So I was kind of lost at the end of it. It was like, but it doesn't quite have that positive ending to these visions. Because they just find each other, which I guess, now that I say it out loud, I guess that is the positive ending. They found each other through all these terrible events that happened in each of their lives, and that's the bond that they have, is kind of the light at the end of the tunnel for them.
Yeah, like you said, it didn't really end like they learned something. It almost like they had to relive it, and then they're sad. But maybe it's to say, like, these are the moments, relive your moments, forget those moments. They happened, move forward, but I don't know. Because it seems like Sephiroth feeds on this kind of stuff, right? Doubt, self-doubt, fear of losing someone, all that. And in order to triumph that, you have to get over it. But I think it makes more sense if you listen to what Aerith has to say right after.
You know, if you think about it, life and death are just two sides of the same coin. Our bodies may disappear when we die, but our spirits still live on. We return to the planet, rejoin the life stream, and in time give rise to new life.
In time, yeah.
I get it, I really do. Knowing that the people we love aren't really gone, it doesn't make it any easier to let them go. It still hurts. So we can't just think of it as a homecoming, 'cause it's not that simple. We've all experienced pain. We all have our regrets. What we've done, what's been done to us, that's set in stone. The past is forever. But the future, even if it has been written, can be changed. It's true that the pain and the anger we carry can make us stronger. But at what cost? What toll does it take? I believe true strength doesn't come from any of that. True strength comes from our ability to forgive, to forge ahead in the hope of making things right. It comes from ourselves. So focus on the future, not the past. Do that, and not even Sephiroth will be able to stand in our way. Not even him.
Are you finished? Clock's ticking. Come on.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
What an angle.
continue. You can go off on Cloud if you want.
Oh, I was just like thinking about how upset I was. I was like, oh, this is nice, Aerith. This is what an a-hole Cloud. Like just stomping on the moment.
Yeah. Completely. But not to take away from what she said, I really enjoyed her speech. It's kind of a way of how to deal with death, to forgive and to move forward. And again, like she said, and I spoke earlier, you can't dwell on the past. And if you do, then, you know, you can't overcome Sephiroth. I think this is what we've been seeing throughout the game is a lot of things are holding each of these people back because they keep thinking about their past. And we see it like firsthand with like Barrett and Mount Corral, this game specifically. But he had a good kind of take on it was there's nothing I can do now. And Cloud, I think, is now in the most headspace because he doesn't even know what's happening in his brain.
Yeah. He's not himself.
But I hope each member of the group realized something moving forward. And then hopefully we can take down Sephiroth. That's the only way.
Hopefully.
So my question to you was, if Aerith does in fact die in this game, which we're getting to the point where we'll know if she does or not, if we get to the point of what happened in the original, or if they are turning the story around, does this speech to you make it seem like she's going to die, or is it to soften the blow, or is it to say, I don't like it? To me, it sounds like yes, she's going to die, right? You agree?
Yeah, I think so. I think they are saying she is going to die, and like it's kind of like this speech is for us, the gamer,
to help
that's
us
playing through, like to help us like deal with the loss of Aerith, right? And like just say like, yeah, so like it's gonna happen, but hey, they're always with you, you know, like. So I'm just anticipating that. Like now, I think I'm set in thinking that she is going to die.
Yeah. Trying to soften
Because
the blow.
also, yeah, it's I don't know, man. I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
Well, it was touching nonetheless. As we move forward, Cloud actually gets his own trial. Somehow. Dealing.
Somehow.
Yeah. Which, because I when I was writing this, I thought to myself, like, okay, Cloud, has he even lost something? But he actually did, because his friends, Biggs and Jesse, show up to this point. But Sephiroth kind of narrates that you're my puppet throughout this. I wonder what that means exactly. If the emotions for Cloud are real, because he's being controlled so much by Sephiroth.
Well, yeah, his trial was like he sees himself planting the bomb at which was the original mission in remake, and then he sees Biggs, and then Jesse, as well, right?
Yes.
Which it's like for us playing that, even though that was such a huge moment, I never took it as that's a big moment for Cloud, because he didn't really know them.
It's true. Yeah, it seemed like
So, like, would I even quantify this as a real trial for Cloud? I don't know.
Well,
and like, because he wasn't, like, how did this trial come about?
just walking.
But that's what I'm saying, right? And Sephiroth interrupts this. So is this like a fake trial of Sephiroth's? Like, I'm pretty sure Cloud in this moment is thinking like, wait, why don't I have my own trial? And then it's like, is this like a way that Sephiroth's manipulating him?
Maybe.
Through this fake trial that we're seeing?
I feel like it's real.
Because the light didn't shine on him, Nick. The light did not shine on him.
Yeah.
He was unworthy of a trial.
My only take, like you said, well, Cloud was, are those people really important to him? I think they were. I think at the end of Remake, we saw him coming out of his shell. We saw him becoming, I think he did care about these people, but we always see him, he always seems moody. So we don't really get it. But then into this game, we reverted back because Cloud is being, I think, controlled by Sephiroth even more. But I think that is still within him. He still cares about these people, but he's not showing it outwardly.
I think he cares about them.
Yeah.
I think he cares about them, but I don't think this is like a huge moment. Like you think back to all the moments of the characters. Like, it's not like Tifa is seeing the moment she got stabbed by Cloud. That was still a moment for her.
Yeah.
That probably was traumatic, probably a loss of trust there. But it was obviously going to be the moment of her father. And I feel a part of that, the reason why we're not seeing like that deep-rooted moment for Cloud is I partially think that this is a fake trial that Sephiroth is kind of manipulating. And I think the reason why Cloud didn't get a trial is because he doesn't quite remember everything about his past. Cloud still doesn't remember everything about his past. And I think that's why they're unable to, the Citra or whatever this trial is supposed to be, is able to trial him because he's so unsure of himself. He's not his complete self right now.
Okay. That's a fair point. Well, after they move forward through the spiral of Rebirth, Aerith helps project displays of the history of the Cetra and how Jenova was an alien life form who used the faces of loved ones to try to destroy the Cetra. They banded together and ended up banishing Jenova into the northern crater and kind of hidden or in an iceberg or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe they used Blizzard on Jenova. I'm not sure. But it cost a lot of Cetra lives. And what Jenova ended up doing was, through Jenova's influence, used humans to cut down the population of the remaining Cetra. And that is kind of how they became extinct. And, well, not extinct. Aerith is the last one, but that is how they lost so many of them. And they ended up becoming almost extinct. We also find out that the Gi forged the black materia. We talked about this. We're not really sure, but the Gi were also alien life forms who did not want to destroy the planet, right?
Their planet was destroyed.
Yes.
And they landed here to, I guess, like, just survive.
Yeah.
They weren't trying to destroy humanity. So they had a different MO than Jenova.
Well, thanks for creating the black materia, though, so.
But we don't know. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, I kind of do feel like what the Gi taught us in that mission of like, oh, the Cetra, it's not just like good and bad. Like, they're also listening through the live stream, and they kind of like were like it's not as like clear as day as like that the Gi are bad in terms of like they were just trying to survive and they went on under hiding. And think of it, if the Cetra was just like almost like destroyed and all you know, the living creatures were destroyed by Genova, maybe the Cetra were kind of like, oh, you know, the Gi's kind of dangerous. I don't know. They prayed this black materia into existence that does not do well for us. I think there may be an understanding between the Gi and the Cetra. Yes. But I do have a question here because, well, not a question, but I think it's important to point out how through this little projection displays, Genova is able to use the faces of the ones that the Cetra loved. To manipulate them, and that's exactly what Sephiroth is doing. So again, we're seeing how Genova has a very big influence on Sephiroth, and even his powers.
So this is all Genova?
Well, I don't necessarily think this is all Genova, but it's kind of all Genova. And also Sephiroth. I mean, he's not innocent here.
Well, maybe we'll find out by the end of the game. But again, there's still a third game to happen. So I don't know if we're going to get all the answers that we want. I think it's probably not a good idea to get the black materia, but they keep letting Cloud trying to get it. And this is what happens.
The black materia shall summon the destroyer of worlds. The meteor shall fall, sundering the skies and shattering the earth. All life shall perish.
Yet I shall remain. I, son of Genova, will at last claim my birthright. My dominion shall reach into infinity. It shall encompass worlds unbound by fate and histories unwritten.
What do you mean?
My fragmented mother, these errant worlds, all shall be one again.
The reunion.
All made whole, forever.
There's no such thing as forever.
But there will be.
No. You're wrong.
Your day of reckoning is here. Yet, you need not be afraid. This is but a homecoming.
Get back here, damn it!
So, the black materia is going to summon a meteor and kill everyone. So that's nice. That's what the black materia does.
This is the second time we're seeing that, though, right? The first time was when they were in Remake, right? So, like, this isn't necessarily news to them.
It's not, but now we know that the black materia is the thing that casts it.
Yes. So now this is when they found out that it's the black materia, and, like, Sephiroth is crazy and thinks everyone's going to be alive forever.
It's a homecoming.
It's a homecoming. Oh, crazy. Crazy cult words that Sephiroth is spewing.
So, okay, my main question here is, why is it Sephiroth's birthright that he keeps mentioning to control the planet if Genova was actually an alien? Right?
Well, obviously, he's backwards.
Yes.
And I think it's just like his birthright to take on the mantle, what Genova was trying to do, right? That's his birthright.
Yeah.
So it's like more he sees his birthright is like Genova was like all powerful. This is the pieces that I'm putting together.
Yeah.
All powerful, and maybe to bring like that was Genova's reasoning, or Genova's manipulating Sephiroth maybe into thinking like Genova is actually trying to help humanity by bringing this forever, this homecoming.
Yeah. This is really mirroring the plot of Naruto. It honestly is.
Yeah.
I'm starting to realize. I know this came first, but now I'm starting to think this is almost like a copycat thing. Whatever. Anyway, that's
Naruto copycat was copying
oh my god, my favorite anime ever. Was a copycat?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Makes sense if it's your favorite game, favorite anime ever.
It's true. Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, Genova, what a piece of shit. That's all I gotta say. Okay. It also, we notice here, like Aerith is talking through. There's almost like a weird voice, like she is the Cetra. She is the last of the Cetra, and like it is the spirits.
You're hearing them.
Yeah, it's crazy. I like that.
Well, I think it's because of the projection, and we see that projection kind of wearing off, and you could see it's just her voice in the end.
Yep.
But now she has this like deep connection where she's able to talk to Centra Pass, which is really cool. I wonder if that'll play into
get the power
something
of all
later
of them.
on. Yeah.
Come on, Aerith, don't die, please. Please. That's all I've been bringing to this whole game.
We need you.
Okay.
We need you, Aerith.
Also, Sephiroth says that the worlds are fragmented and wants to reunite them. So I think that's what comes into play. Maybe Zack, what we're seeing in his kind of world. We'll find out more about that or talk about it later. But this leads to a boss battle against Demon Gate. And once you break through, by the way, Cloud goes desperate rampage scariness, where all the group is like looking at him. Once you defeat the Demon Gate, he's like slashing the wall to like open it like a freak. He needs to calm down here.
Where Sephiroth was going, he's like trying to slash through the wall.
So he's super possessed. And then they just, I'm really pissed about this. They let Cloud grab the black materia. Even though this man is literally, he's laughing like Sephiroth while he's grabbing the materia and they don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Come on.
This was a plot hole. This didn't make sense to me. I was just kind of like.
It's not a plot hole. It happened before too.
Yeah, true. But that's what I'm saying because, well, no, it's a plot hole because it happened before. You think they would learn.
Just stop him. Push him off the ledge.
Do something.
Come on. Whatever.
Kill the protagonist. Just push him off that ledge.
Save Zack in the other timeline and use him. He's cooler. He's not so emotional.
He's less moodier. I don't know about cooler. Less moodier.
So yeah, they let Cloud grab the black materia and the temple begins to collapse. And then Kate Sith out of nowhere shows up, runs to them, sacrifices himself to save them as the temple is collapsing. He's like holding up the
basin essentially that the black materia was sitting in.
So it gives them time to escape, but I don't know everything is happening right now. Kate Sith, I guess, is now one of us again.
Exactly.
Don't worry though, Kate Sith will be okay because he has many copies of himself, which we find out as they escape the temple. Cloud then does, to me, what I think his best Frodo impression.
Hey, what's gotten into you? Didn't you hear what Aerith said?
That's mine.
Fine, fetch.
Sephiroth.
Huh?
This is the key, which grants access to the true counterpart hidden between worlds.
Give it back!
Whoa!
At last, the time has come.
Materia.
So that was pretty easy for Sephiroth to get the materia. I laughed how it happened.
Cloud.
Well, no, Barrett, they're just like, here, tosses it, and then Sephiroth's like, oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like Barrett, like this is a pretty important thing that is important. You just throw this thing.
Yeah.
So weird.
And then, yeah, like I said, Cloud was with like, no, it's mine. It's my precious. And then
he was, and he's just so dopey. Like, whenever Sephiroth appears now, or when like the black materia it's the black materia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Sephiroth.
Maybe.
Like, it's like, snap out of it, dude. You are not yourself. You are not yourself. Also, how does Sephiroth float? He doesn't have his wing out.
I think
he's
just
floating?
I don't even know. I don't even think he's alive fully because he lives through these black cloaks, right? You can't kill him because he just goes to another
questions.
one. Yeah, I don't know.
So many questions.
Also,
what was he talking about? It's between worlds. It's the key to something between worlds.
Oh, listen, that could be.
I'm just like, I don't know, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
He's speaking in tongues. Whispers are back. There's a struggle for the materia. Cloud is completely under Sephiroth's spell here. And I don't think he's here because the situation here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aerith grabs the materia. Cloud runs after her. Aerith hands over the materia. Okay. And then Cloud gives the materia to Sephiroth. Now, Sephiroth had the materia, right? I think he's not alive or something. He's a spirit because I don't think, even though he grabbed the materia from Barrett and then set into motion whatever the whispers and whatever was happened, it feels like to me he needed Cloud to get the materia for him. And I don't know if there's that weird connection. It was just, the red flag was everything was like blinking in red light to me here was why does Cloud need to bring it to Sephiroth? I feel like there's something here.
Yeah, we're missing something. We're missing.
What is it?
Like, because did they all see Sephiroth?
Yes, they all see Sephiroth here in this point. I think.
Okay, because Aerith goes and tries to grab it from him.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why Cloud needs to be the one to bring the black materia to Sephiroth. Is it just because Sephiroth didn't want to have one of his whispers fight for it? Like, or find it? Like, because they're kind of, or not whispers, one of their
the black cloaks.
Because they're kind of useless.
They are useless.
Like, they're not, and I think like them heading to what I think is this place for the reunion, right?
Yeah.
It's like they fall off cliffs. They're not really all there. Cloud is like the only one that's kind of in that state, but not really, and able to still do bidding.
That's why that's why I don't think he's going to turn into a black cloak. That's why I think he is specifically being used by Sephiroth.
But then the thing is too, like then with the black cloak, and why isn't he turning into a black cloak yet?
Because Sephiroth doesn't want him to.
You just think it's Sephiroth controlling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I think that Cloud cannot turn into. I think he's maybe too strong to become a black cloak. That's just my guess. And then like Sephiroth's using that angle. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, a lot of questions.
Trying to decipher this tongue of Sephiroth and figure out what he's speaking.
Yes. Cloud gives Sephiroth the black materia, like I said, and then Cloud snaps out of it for a second and is like, "Oh, I need to go save Aerith. Way to go, buddy." But
I think it's because Aerith.
She goes, "Cloud!"
is looking at him. Yeah, and then he remembers everything. Yeah.
Stupid guy. I hate it.
But this is what I'm saying though. I'm like, that should have been him and Tifa. Tifa should have snapped him out of it.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like Aerith does have a huge part of this. Like,
I know, but I get jelly in this moment. I'm like, why couldn't that be Tifa?
Sephiroth sends Cloud and Aerith into the abyss. And then with this cool scene as they're falling, one of those black feathers from Sephiroth's wing kind of goes closer and closer to the screen, and then the screen goes black. And that is how the end of the chapter ends. Wow.
Crazy.
So
crazy how they did that.
What happened to Cloud and Aerith? Well, we're going to find out not this week. We're going to find out next week with the last chapter. But we will break down everything that happened after the break. However, we got to preface it by we still don't understand what's happening. So, neither do you. Okay? All right.
Your friend died in didn't shed a tear. Why is that?
Sephiroth.
Sorrow. Anger. Regret. Guilt. Nothing but empty words to you. For you are but a puppet. My puppet.
I'll kill you.
Good, Cloud. Very good. Fill your hollow heart with rage. Let it engulf you, consume you, that you may burn your world to the ground, as I did.
I'm not like him. I'll never be like him.
I'm not like him. I'll never be like him. Yet he is doing his bidding.
He's exactly like him.
Yes.
But that's the thing, right? I feel really, even though we are making jokes about Cloud being a jerk throughout this chapter, I actually feel really bad for him because it's this internal struggle he's having. He spent all this time opening up, he's been so close to different party members throughout the later half of this game. He's made huge progress to show that he actually does care about his friends. But then it's just this hold that Sephiroth has over him keeps weighing him down, keeps confusing him, and really making him question his own worth, who he really is.
Yeah, I think it's not his mind right now. I don't think he's in control of anything. So I feel really bad for what he's going through.
But then again, it seems like filling Cloud up with rage, as we heard Sephiroth say, is very important to Sephiroth. And it's again, to your question, why did he need Cloud to get the black materia? Mm-hmm. Why does he need Cloud to go through these steps? It's kind of like I said with this Cloud trial that we just heard, it's kind of like a fake trial. It's Sephiroth putting Cloud on a trial to see what he would do. Is the rage there?
Right, that's why you said the fake trial. That does make more sense now that I watch it over again.
Yeah, it's he wants to see how far Cloud has gone, right?
I don't think it's that. I think it's just him continuing to question himself, right? Because he says here,
Sephiroth needs him in that state.
Right, and he's what's real? He keeps questioning Cloud. He's what's real? Is this real? What's he's almost saying, you don't have a mind of your own. You are you have no heart. You have no soul. You're just here to do my bidding. And so now maybe Cloud is questioning, am I even real? Am I even a real human? Am I just a Sephiroth clone? Am I one of the Black Cloaks? What am I exactly? And then that just warps his mind even more, and it lets Sephiroth control him even easier.
Yeah.
So.
I feel bad. Now I feel bad for Cloud. I'm sorry I called you a jerk. You kind of were, but sorry, Cloud.
But again, I'm not like him. I'll never be like him. And then, Tifa, this whole game has been I know you're not going to turn into a Black Cloak. You're not going to be him. You're not going to be this and that. But then they don't do anything to stop him either. Mm-hmm. And then he just ends up doing his bidding anyway.
They need to make the tough calls. They need
kill
to
him?
make the tough calls. Well, I think it's just have him kind of take the back seat. And we saw them do this in the chapter where Tifa gets in the weapon's stomach essentially and goes through those memories where they're you need to sit this one out, Cloud. You're obviously not yourself. They kind of need to be a little bit harsher with him on that, which is interesting why they didn't do that this time around, given the history of him almost trying to kill Tifa. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm questioning further of who Cloud is. I don't know.
Who are you, Cloud?
Who are you? I think I need to see more of Zach. Maybe more Zach. He's the cooler guy.
Yeah, like, are they setting up, like, is that this Cloud the fake Cloud? Like, I'm so confused, man.
I'm also very confused. But guess what? We only have one chapter left to figure it all out. We won't. It's all going to be put in the third game. Every single plot point. We're not going to know anything that happens. Kate Sith's death.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that? Were you emotional when it happened, or did you know that he was going to pop up right after? Because I had a laugh when he just showed up. It's like, hey, I'm okay. I have many more bodies.
Hey, it's me, Kate Sith.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I kind of figured that he would pop up again because we hear while he's holding up the basin that, like, don't worry about a bot like me. You know, I think that's what something to that, you know, phrase is what Kate Sith says while he's holding up the basin. So I kind of figured that he would appear again. I do think that this was like a redemption arc for him to instill more faith with the team. So I could see him rejoining the party after this. And, you know, Vincent also kind of went on his own thing, but then comes back to help them escape. So again, like, I think, you know, this is just, they're on their own development. That's just like 5 steps behind the party that was already established. So I think this point for Kate and also for Vincent is just to solidify them as a party member after all of this goes down. I think they'll be in it for the long haul.
I still need more information on what exactly Kate Sith is.
Robot,
no, I know
a
a robot, but they never really discuss it that much. It's like assumed.
No, it's just hinted. It's just hinted.
Yeah, it's weird because they know too. They know he's like a robot.
Exactly. And I think it's because we have that third game, we won't know what Kate Sith is. Like, explicitly be told what Kate Sith is until then.
2 more points I want to mention to you. One is what we keep hearing. It's not a death, it's a homecoming. And now we know what Sephiroth said. He wants to bring the fractured worlds together. I want to know what you think that means. Does it relate to the timelines that we're seeing? Is it a multiverse? I don't even know. Or is it just different times of things that could have happened? You know, like if you decide to go left or
like
right,
split.
Right? And then you go right in real life, but what happens if you went left? And there's another
like a choose your own
existence that happened.
kind of, yeah. I think firstly with the homecoming conversation, I always go back to the idea of the live stream.
Yes.
And this is from a, you know, Cetra perspective of, like, even though you die, you go back into the live stream and you're around everyone with these memories. That's why the live stream has all this wealth of knowledge, because it's, you know, everyone who's passed going into that live stream. So I want to incorporate that, but knowing Sephiroth isn't really a huge Cetra follower, I think it does have to do with, you know, Genova, his mother, and kind of bringing back her in a sense. And it is a homecoming because of what Genova stands for. And like he also says to Aerith, like, when Sung dies, that, like, you'll see him again.
Sung doesn't die though, by the way. He's alive.
Well, when he thought Sung was gonna die, he says, don't worry, you'll see him again. So it's like Sephiroth's obviously very in tune that there's this other timeline or other world in existence of people who we think should have passed away.
Man, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
He has to. Like, why would he say you're going to see him again?
No, I know. Yeah. Unless he's saying, like, you're going to die soon and then you're going to see him when you're dead.
No, it seemed like a huge... But he wasn't trying to kill Aerith in that moment.
No.
Right? So it doesn't make sense to be like, oh, you're going to see him soon because you're going to die. It was more like... And he said it right after, it's not a death, it's a homecoming.
Yeah.
So it seems like, to me, what I'm gathering, he is aware that these two timelines exist.
Unless he's talking, you just go back in the live stream, though, also.
No, but he's not like a Cetra follower. If he was Cetra and like wholesome and like not trying to kill everyone, I would say for sure, right? That's more of a peaceful like thing to say to reconcile death.
Yeah.
But I think he is aware of the other timeline. And with like the knowledge he has with Genova, like I wonder if everything, like, did Genova create a second timeline? Where did this come from? Like, in what Genova was doing, impersonating people, through her impersonations of like different loved ones, did that create a separate timeline?
I don't know. This is confusing.
I don't know what's happening. And what does the clock mean?
Yeah, the clock. We didn't even mention that. Like, what? I thought there was something more to it, but there ended up not being anything more to it. So, but is there going to be something more of a meaning in the next game? I don't know.
Well, I feel like the hurdle I had with timelines, which they dealt with so well in this game so far, is like the switch up between playing in the Zack timeline and playing in the main timeline or the main universe. I wonder if the third game gets a little bit complicated with that. Maybe there's lots of switching back and forth. So they actually need like a slate, essentially, like something to signify the changing. And that's why we're seeing this clock. And maybe it'll be coming into like more play later in the third game.
Oh, I don't know.
Which is like 2026. When's the third game?
Yeah, when I need it now.
We need the third game now. We need answers.
The one little not brain connection, but like epiphany I had was in Tifa's trial. She says the line, "I'm sick of this. I'm sick of all of this." There was a static line like that in the first game. We see it again. I think we've seen it multiple times. Her in different outfits, whatever. There's something about that specifically that, for me, feels like they're telling us something. I don't know what that is, but there's something telling me that there's a reason why we keep seeing that specific Tifa yell saying, "I'm sick of this. I'm sick of all of this."
Is this because she is like that is the moment where Tifa could have chosen another path of vengeance? Is this a moment where Tifa could have really like been like, "I hate Shinra. I hate everyone in Shinra, including Cloud. Like, I'm going to just be anti-Shinra, anti-Cloud. Like, I want nothing to do with all these things that played into my father leaving."
I don't know. I just wanted to point that out, but really,
I think you're onto something there. I think you're onto something there.
Well, next week you're going to lead us into the end, and maybe we can figure some more things out as we deal with the final chapter.
Hey, I'm not going to make any promises, given how this game's going with reconciling some of these plot holes, because we probably won't, Nick.
No,
we probably won't. But at least we'll know where Rebirth ends and takes us.
Well, first we have to find out what exactly happens to Cloud and Aerith as they plunge into the abyss.
Hello? I know you're in there. Time's a wasting, Cloud, and it's not like we have much left. Up and at 'em, soldier!
What is this? Are we?
We could call it a homecoming. Or homeward bound, maybe? Let's just call it a dream. My dream, to be precise.
What the hell are you?
Shh. Just play along for a bit, okay?
Is anything going to happen? Is Aerith going to perish at the end or not? Because this is the point in the game where in the original she dies. So we'll find out next week, and then cry, laugh, smile, frown, depending on what happens. See you next time. AutoSave is produced and hosted by Camille Salazar Hadaway and myself, Nick Andrade. The show is also produced by Dylan Wilson. Gameplay and additional elements provided by Chris Seitzer. Technical production by Greg Philly. Executive producer, Clayton Hansler. You can follow the show at AutoSave Podcast on Twitter and AutoSave Pod on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. You can subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it right now, and if it happens to be Apple Podcasts, kindly leave us a rating and review, but only if it's good. AutoSave is a Soda original, hosted on the Soda Podcast Network.